Welcome back to the channel. My name's Cody, and today I'm talking about mistakes I made when starting my business. This is a mistake, well, a few mistakes that a lot of people seem to make. When I was getting started, I used to tell people what I thought they wanted to hear. That is dumb, to put it in simple terms. You should not tell people what you think they want to hear. Tell people what you know, tell people the truth, don't omit data, give them what you're working with. Because if you tell people what you think they want to hear, you could, number one, be dead wrong, but you're not being genuine. You're not being sincere. You're not being upfront with what you're really looking for. You're not being upfront with just having an actual human interaction. And that may move you forward in the beginning, but that'll skew and mess up your relationships as you get further and further into business. Just give people what you have, tell them what you're looking for, and don't give them false information that you really think that is what they're looking for. When I was getting started, I made that mistake over and over and over again. I did it throughout high school, told my teachers what I thought they wanted to hear. When it came to trying to communicate with anybody, I thought if I told them what they wanted to hear, it would further a friendship. It's not the case. So do not do it in business. That's a mistake a lot of people fall into. It's a trap. Skip that step. Another thing, do not try and manipulate data to make yourself look right. Looking right is it's just a childish game. If you're going to be right, be right. And if you make a mistake, own up to it. It's one thing to look right to everybody, but that's like the game of chasing the Joneses, trying to always be one step ahead of everybody else. That stuff really doesn't matter in business. Looking right and being right. I mean, 100 people could go in one direction. If you're the person, you know you're doing the right thing, you know in your heart, you know in your mind that you are doing the right thing regardless of what other people are doing. You should do that. Don't try and look right by going with the rest of the crowd or by trying to do this new thing or rebranding it to make it look like you're higher than everyone else. Odds are you're not. And at the end of the day, like, what is business for? It's to move you forward and actually get you into a position of being further than you are. So as you're trying to grow and build your business, just focus on making decisions that actually move you forward. And whether it makes you look right or wrong, you still proceed because you know it's the right thing to do. When I was getting started, I was told, well, you shouldn't buy in Moses Lake. That's not a cash flow. It's not a super high cash flow, high appreciation market. It's just kind of dead. But I knew it was the right thing to do. So while I was buying these fixer up or seller finance properties that other people didn't really want, based on the pieces I had, I knew it to be a solid idea. And even though no one around me was doing it, everyone said it was a mistake. I knew it was the right thing to do. And so I moved forward with that. I wasn't trying to fit in. I wasn't trying to be super successful like everyone was saying, oh, you need to do this to be successful. You need to call this many people. I just sat down, had my coffee meetings, met with people, built genuine interactions. After I got over the first thing I brought up earlier of trying to tell people what I thought they wanted to hear, it was just being a human being and making the best decisions with the pieces that I had. And when I started doing that, I started moving forward. When I first got my real estate license, I was trying to look all smart and like I knew what I was doing. I didn't know anything, especially compared to right now. And in 10 years, I'm not going to, I'll look back and say, well, I didn't know anything compared to what I know now. It'll always be the case. But I was pretending I had that imposter syndrome and I was trying to overcompensate for it. Don't do that. Again, back to the beginning piece. Just be who you are and be very open and vulnerable when you don't know something. And last thing I want to bring up on this, don't pretend to know something that you don't. When I was getting started, I used to pretend I knew a lot more. In theory, I'd studied it, so I should have been an expert, but I was trying to teach people. And I made so many mistakes that I realized later. It's like, oh, that's not actually right. I still do that sometimes. I do my best to not give things out or give data points out that I haven't actually tested. But I was trying to position myself as the expert again to overcompensate for the imposter syndrome. I had no business sharing some of that information. And I would get into conversations where I could talk about it for maybe 20 seconds and all my points were gone. And I would try and nod along with conversations that other people who were way smarter than me knew a lot more about. And so I've learned over time to stay in my lane with the things I actually know. And as you're growing in business, you'll earn a lot of respect if you stay out of the conversations where you have no business being in. If you don't know something and you try and act like you know it all, the people are really intelligent. They can bring up one thing, nod their head yes, even though it shouldn't be nodding yes, and they'll know immediately that you have no idea what you're talking about because you're more likely to go along with the body language than you are to actually think about the conversation. So don't be a pretender. Don't insert yourself into conversations if you truly can't add value. It's one thing to listen, but don't position yourself as, oh, I know this or I know that when you truly don't, because that's going to get yourself some burned relationships. It's going to put you in a position in business you don't want to be in. And so the big takeaway from all of this is be an active listener. Don't insert yourself places where you really don't have business being, and you can learn from it. But especially it's people that are younger in business, not just age, but time in business, seem to have a tendency to want to fit in with that position of power until you've really earned it. And I'm still trying to earn it every day, trying to grow little by little. Until you get there, you have no real business trying to pretend that you're there because it's only going to be bad consequences. And if there's no gain from it, other than making you feel a little bit better in the moment, you have no business doing it. I hope this helps you map out where you're at and avoid some of these mistakes because if you're in the very beginning, you're probably more susceptible. But map out if you are in the beginning of your business journey or a little bit farther, because if you know your stuff, then yeah, you can absolutely insert yourself into those conversations. But if you are just getting started, don't act like you're a professional. Learn from the professionals, get the takeaways from the professionals, and apply them over time so you can move yourself closer and closer to that position. It'll save you burn bridges. I've burned a couple of bridges because I tried to do these things and I was not the pro. But you can become a pro over time by listening first and not trying to position yourself as all knowing because you're not, I'm not. And we always have to listen first. That's why we've got two ears and one mouth. So, with that said, I appreciate you watching all the way through the video. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. On my way to 300 subscribers, I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'll see you next week in the next video.